Sweet, there you go, perfect. I see the red light. All right, so you guys are in a treat for today. We're going to go over a few different things. I'm going to talk about how to increase your value and time management. Come on in, bro. Okay. And I'm going to start this with you. This is the Optimist Creed. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. To talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. To make all your friends feel that there is something in them. To look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. To think only of the best, to work only for the best, and expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. To give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Anyway, it's called the Optimist Creed. If you guys, I'll give you a copy of that. That's good. Okay, so doing sales, we're the ultimate optimists, or at least we should, right? We here know more than anyone else, right? We basically don't get paid unless we produce, right? I mean, there's a lot, right? And so we have to be optimists, that we expect the best, right? That we can create it, that we can make what we're worth, right? That we are making a difference in other people's lives, all those things, right? So if you're not an optimist, I'm expecting you to be one by the time you leave this room, okay? All right, so a few things I want to go over here with you is, number one, when someone buys from you, ooh, love it. Right, all right. If you want to sell at a high level consistently, when people buy from you, it's because you're able to create the trust, they like you, and they know you. Okay? So let's talk about each one of these, okay? When it comes to trust, when we trust somebody else, where does that come from? How do we trust them? What do they do?
Follow through with something.
Okay. They basically do what they say they're going to do, exactly. Sweet, dude. Coming right in and start giving value. I love it, dude. Okay. Just think about people that you trust in your life. Why do you trust them?
They've proved what they say they would do, they do.
Okay. Consistently, right? So they do what they say they're going to do. Okay. Usually when we trust somebody, it's also because they're usually an example, right? Meaning that you know they really care about the end result that you're looking for, right? Whether it's a parent, whether it's a teacher, whether they usually go the extra mile. They're usually doing more than is expected, right? What about people we like? Why do we like them? Think we have some things in common, right? What else? Why do we like them?
Personable.
Personable. Okay. Personality is very important, right? Okay. Okay. We also like.
Put them in their place.
What?
I says you're pissed off and you put them in their place.
Okay.
No.
No.
No, not so much. Communicate with them well.
That's the guy I'm trying not to be.
Okay. So we like somebody who listens to us, right? Makes us laugh, right? Really tries to understand what we're trying to do, right? And we like people that, again, at first we might not like them, kind of going what you're going along, but we like people that are real, right? They're not sugarcoating everything. They're not like, oh, everything, at the same time, they're tactful, but they'll say, you know what, hey, we like people that are, again, trying to help us out, and they point things out where we're going wrong and how we can change it.
They care.
Yeah, exactly right. And then knowing somebody. This is all about these things obviously happening as well, but when we know somebody, we know a little bit about them. We see that they're consistent, right? Just the first 10 seconds of talking with them, and then all of a sudden they change, right? Or as soon as they find out that, you don't have money, all of a sudden they change, they don't even talk to you anymore, right? So it's all about doing these things. Know, like, and trust us. That's where you're going to make sales at a high level consistently. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pass out this little flyer, And I think I have enough. Sweet. And I'm going to have you rate yourself on these things here in just a moment. Just take one and pass it down. And before we go up, we're just going to go through the list real quick. And I'm going to have you guys rate yourself, okay? So the first one is PMA, that's positive mental attitude, okay? So we all know what that is, right? We're finding solutions, we're positive about the outcome that's going to happen, right? We're in a good mood. You know, whatever challenges come, we're able to get past it and look for the solution, look for the silver lining, look for the payout, okay? So positive mental attitude, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is always, 1 is never. The next one is posture. In any sales environment, you need to find the posture, meaning that why you have what they need, okay? Why it's exclusive. Right? Why are you the best person to help them solve that problem that they have? Right? Meaning, I have what you need, and I want to give it to you if I know that you're going to maximize the use of it. Right? If everyone, in this room, if they want to, $10 million today, and they're going to give, let's say, $9 million of that away, I'm assuming you wouldn't just give it to people for the sake of, you'd have hopefully some kind of stipulation, right? Make sure that it's going to a good cause, and you know that they're going to use the money wisely. Or if you're going to give it to somebody, it's not going to ruin their life. Okay? Teachable. When somebody maybe has a little bit more wisdom than you, even though you're pretty good at what you do, being always teachable is real important. Because again, if you kind of know it all, and you kind of push feedback away, you're missing an opportunity, and that kind of goes back to you don't have a positive mental attitude, right? Is that you're saying, okay, you know what, I can totally see it that way, and let me, some truth to what was just said to me, so let me fix it, let me change it. So teachable. Work ethic. How hard are you working to accomplish the result? Right? And I always say this, if you were asked to dig a hole in the ground 10 feet wide by 10 feet deep, right? And you had a certain time to get it done in, right? Different tools. If you have a little plastic picnic fork, you've seen those, the sporks or whatever, right? That'd probably take you a long time, right, to do that, right? If you had a shovel, probably a little easier. If you had a backhoe, even easier, right? And that's what work ethic does. Work ethic, when we work hard, we start realizing things like, wow, I can make this a lot easier on myself and other people, because as you're doing it, as you get the flight hours, you realize, there's an easier way of doing this, right? And that's when you enlist tools and you learn how to use those tools. But work ethic, how hard are you working towards that aim? Confidence, how confident are you in your abilities, right? In your proctor service. Confidence is huge. Follow a script. You do what works. Or are you always kind of changing it up? Enthusiasm, which is key, right? Enthusiasm about what you're doing and what you can provide. Professionalism, so let's talk about that. Professionalism, for example, all you guys that are in this room you're exhibiting professionalism because you're here. Right? You know how many people that are on the floor that need this information, that they're not here, right? Because they're not professional. They're not. Because they need it. So it's about professionalism. Overcoming objections. Do you know, and this kind of goes back when we did the avatar and all of this stuff, right? Do you know any and every rebuttal that someone you're going to talk to will give you where they think they shouldn't, they can't, or won't take part in our program, and overcome it in a way that makes complete sense? And if they're halfway serious, they're like, well, right?
Do you have a script or anything about all the different objections that you've heard with this type of sell? And
for the most part, yeah. And that's going to be another training, is the rebuttals. So, good question. All right, another one is rapport. Building rapport with somebody, and this kind of goes back to these things. How good are you at your intro and your blast, right? That's the first say 30 seconds, first minute of the call. How good are you at engaging? Because I'll tell you, that's where most sales fall apart, is that first 30 seconds. Right? And if more are falling apart than they should, right, that's where, again, it goes back to overcoming objections, is knowing. Right? What will I say, and I know it. I don't have to think about it. I can just say it exactly. When they say this, I know I say that. I have different triggers, right? Okay, the other one is finding the decision maker. You guys, this is so important. So many deals, sales, are lost because not finding the real decision maker. Complete detailed probe. So meaning really finding out what their real reason why is, what they're looking to accomplish, why would they trust us, right? Yeah, they're the decision maker, or you have all the decision makers, they have the investment available, right? They buy into the story, they believe we can help them, right? Again, they know, like, and trust the company, you, the result, everything they're looking to accomplish. Verbally paint word pictures. This is a very important thing to be able to articulate when they're saying, I want financial freedom. Right? And say, well, you say financial freedom, but what you told me is that you have $500,000 in debt right now that you want to pay off, and you don't have enough retirement for yourself. So again, if you had that retirement, meaning that you were financially abundant, you were able to pay off all that debt, what would that feel like? Oh, it'd feel great. Well, we know it'd feel great. What would that feel like? I want you to picture in your mind that you had a check. You said your debt's $500,000. You're writing that check for $500,000, and you're paying it off, and you're handing it to the person that's responsible. How does that feel? Well, right, and then get the feedback from them. Okay. So again, verbally paint words and pictures. Active listening is a big one, right? Listen to what they're actually saying, not necessarily with their words, but with their emotion. You have to pay attention to both of those things, and it takes a lot of effort to really listen to what they're saying, because that's when you need to stop. If the emotion's not backing up with the words, you have to stop and find out what's going on. Okay? So I'll skip the next one, but the next one is tie downs, takeaways, right? Tie downs, basically, you want to make sure that there's no mutual mystification, right? That they understand and you understand. And this especially when it comes to an investment, decision making, their goals, what they want to accomplish, and that they trust us. All right, we find and explain the investment. Nothing worse than thinking that you have a sale being made, you're helping this person out, but they really don't have the money to do it because you didn't qualify that. All right, so build pain, right? How good are you at building pain, right? Meaning finding what's really, keeping this person up at night. How bad does it hurt? Why does it hurt? Because the only way that you can provide a solution is if there's a problem, right? Build their dream, right? What do they want to accomplish? What are they missing out on? But what would be different if they were living their actual dream? They were the happy, more successful version of themselves because of you. Another one, keeping it simple. So I always say keep it simple, but rev up the emotion as you're going through it. All right, but keep it simple. The simpler it is, the easier for you to follow the process and for them to follow the process. And that's another thing that I see quite a bit is that there's, people that will, they think they're keeping it simple, but they're actually making it very, very complicated by explaining one thing 10 different ways, and all of a sudden the person's, confused. You got to understand, if this is something we do day in, day out, this is the first time these people are hearing that, right? So you have to make it simple enough for them to understand. Again, make it a no-brainer. Okay. Voice inflection, that's huge, right? It's how you're saying it. And all these things, I'll tell you, if your voice isn't matching up with what you're saying, trust goes out the window, they don't like you, and they don't even want to get to know you, right? Create urgency. And this is a big thing, because you can build pain. You can do all these things, trust, like, know, and build pain. But if you don't build urgency to solve the problem, that you're the solution, right? So it's not coaching, it's our coaches, right? Is really creating that urgency for them. So anyway, it looks like everyone has done that. And so fill that out, and it'd be interesting. I want you to bring that to your team leader and let them circle what they think. You rate yourself.
Explain that setup again.
I didn't explain it because I just don't have time. but we'll go through that.
Setup.
Yeah. So setup just means basically, are you good at, when you get all the way to the end, are you good at setting it up correctly? Okay.
Set up the-
You ask it, I'll just explain it. So what happens is when people think that they get to a point where they're so excited about the sale happening and helping this person, all of a sudden they start jammering through it and just kind of like hot potato, and they don't take the time, because that's the time to really make sure it's solid, because you'll make somebody good even better. And there's plenty of people on my team where there's been times when they had somebody who was good, but we weren't getting the best possible answer. So with that being said, we wanted to stay there and make sure we were getting the right answer. And it turned somebody who was good wanted to do the program even better because they're proving themselves. Okay, so that's just to answer your question. All right, so you're going to go take that to your team leader, okay, or somebody you trust, either way, and then have them circle that. And then have them give you feedback, because that's going to come into our next area here. All right, so a few things that we always want to do here. Remember we talked about a few weeks, we talked about that number that we should be most concerned with. And what was that number? $1 per hour. Okay? So I want you to think, you don't have to say this out loud, but last week, what was your $1 per hour? Right? So $1 per hour. So again, a few things we're going to go over here. All right, so the three things that we need to focus on that's going to give you a higher $1 per hour is if you're focused on prospecting, presenting, and closing. Okay, so the Pareto principle tells us that 20% of our efforts can give us 80% of the results. Or 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts, right? So we're going to go into a time management training right now to really find out what is your 20% that's going to give you your 80% returns. Okay, but before I do that, I have a few quotes on time. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. Don't count every hour in the day. Make every hour in the day count. For every minute spent in organizing, an hour is earned. Okay, so again, preparing, right? Having a process, a track that you run on a regular basis. Okay, so prospecting, presenting, and closing. The more you do this, the higher your $1 per hour is going to go up. Okay? All right, so roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. All right, so what I'm going to have you guys do is write a little box on your paper. And you're just going to write out everything that you do once you get at work. As soon as you clock in, what do you start doing? Okay, so just write all the activities that you do all day long. Talk to your neighbor, get some water, call your spouse, dial, talk with people, training. I'll give you another minute to do that, and then I'm going to have you just circle the ones that are in line with prospecting, presenting, and closing. And as you're doing that, I'm just going to have you just think of this thought is that they say that time management issues are not time issues, they're motivation issues. So if you're not getting most out of the time, it's your motivation's off. You're not creating the results, your motivation's off, like what's causing that motivation, right? To be there or not be there. If you guys remember, we went back and we talked about if you want to make $100,000 a year, what did you have to do every week, right? Every month. What does that look like for your commissions, for the volume that you're putting up to make that a reality? And then more importantly, what was that money going to do for you? But ultimately, that's the number we look at, right? Is the dollar per hour. Okay. So why don't we have everyone just share one thing on the list that didn't get circled, and why? So Tim, let's start with you. What's one thing that you didn't circle on your list?
Going to get some water.
Okay. All right, and we need to stay hydrated, right? Okay. So if we do that 10 times a day, right? So let's just have a simple solution is get a big thing of water. So then you don't have to get up, right? Case in point right there, okay? Right? So again, it's all about solutions, right? Because we have to get water, right? We have to go to the bathroom. We have to do all those different things, especially if we're going to drink all that water. And so we just have to be able to manage that the best that we can, right? Because that's not creating sales for us, right? Okay. Rob, do you have one?
Yeah, just going through daily emails.
Okay.
That are not sending emails.
Yeah.
Just going through the emails that you get.
Okay. Just as they come up. Oh.
Yeah.
What is that? Oh, what's that? Okay. Yeah. That gets the best of us. So what are some things that you do?
Well, what I can start doing, because I don't do it now, I set aside 10 or 15 minutes, maybe twice during the day, and just hammer through them, get them out of the way, start
Perfect.
back on the phone.
Perfect. So one thing that I would suggest, and that's great, is, and we're going to talk about this, in working in block of times. Like if you do it for 2 hours, half an hour you're just getting warmed up, right? But if you just dial, all right, for 2 hours, and obviously the conversations might take longer once you get hold of somebody, and then take a little break, maybe a 10 or 15 minute break, all right, and then do your emails. It's probably a good thing to do. Read a motivational book or something like that in between, but just say, okay, for the next 2 hours, I'm just going to focus on dialing. I'm just going to get hold of the people. That's going to start this whole process. So good. Cody, what's something on your list that doesn't create sales?
Saying my hellos.
Okay. That's
Check
important,
with you later.
right? Yeah, that's important to be able to say, hey, what's up? And just, again, create that, that relationship with people. Let them know. So that's important, right? But if it takes you, 15 minutes to say hi to everybody, and then, everyone has that one person on the team that's just like a time vampire, and all of a sudden they're talking to you for like 20 minutes, you're like, okay, cool, I'm glad everything's okay, but I gotta get to work, all right? Okay, Jeremy?
I was good until we brought that dang ping pong table in, and this guy. Let's play ping pong. It's like, dude, I'm trying to make money. He's like, dude, we don't need to make money. I'm like, no, we need no. For me, I think it's just that.
That's right. You'll get them back. You throw them under the table, right? Under the bus.
Just what you said about coming in and having those marks, 2 hours. So it's not like I'm on there looking at ESPN or anything else, but having control of my time. Saying for these next 2 hours, I'm not getting off the phone. I think is what I need to improve.
And one thing I want you guys just to keep in mind, because that's good. I think when you get to a certain level, you never want to stop doing the things that got you to that level. But at the same time, I think it's important to have a little bit of downtime here and there, right? So again, but it's all about really delayed gratification and say, okay, so if I want to look at the ESPN score, I need to know, okay, after I have these 2 blocks, so 4 hours total, but have those 2 blocks, I'm going to spend 10 minutes, once I've done X, Y, and Z, right? So set little goals for yourself to give you, that little feedback, and have a little break there. Okay, Pete, what about you?
Getting water, saying hellos, clocking in, all instead of just diving right in.
Okay, good. Yeah, the sooner you start doing the things that you know, right, then inside you feel happier. You just do. When you start procrastinating, you're doing things that you know are not, again, they might be important, and it's, keep them short and sweet, because you got to definitely do that, right? Because I appreciate when when my team comes in, they're like, hey, how you doing? And we talk a little bit. It's cool. That's fine. But not taking too long to get started. Because if you start putting it off, what happens? You start putting it off longer and then longer and longer, right? Yeah. Brian Tracy calls it eat the frog, right? It's like find the biggest, ugliest frog that you're thing that you're worried about doing, and take that one first and get to work. Okay.
You can't change direction of a mighty ship unless it's moving.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. What was something on your list?
I put talking to my husband.
Okay.
Because during the day we'll randomly call each other, see how each other's days go.
Okay. And ultimately, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I'd make a huge, just watch out, is if they're asking you, have you made any sales? Have you done that? You know what I mean? You just have to be careful of that, because what we do is so emotional, is that then that puts extra pressure on you, and it depends on the kind of person you are, but it puts extra pressure on you to try to perform, because they're going to ask you, and then you're trying to force things instead of just following the right process and doing these things that we've talked about here. All of a sudden you're trying to force things, right? So just a heads up if that's happening, and also how often is it happening, right? It's another thing. You got to kind of set ground rules for someone, because I'm sure he wants you to be successful, right? He wants you to do well. So something to think about. Doctor?
Well,
she got a little smile when I said that.
Huh?
I said you got a little smile when I said doctor. You like that. You worked hard for that.
Well, I'm really good in the time management. But one thing that I noticed myself, sometimes I will fall into the trap of when I'm dining, and I'm just dining to get a dining numbers, or am I dining to talk to the people?
Exactly.
And that kind of attitude had great,
It affects you, yeah, in a bad way.
That's my brain thinking, and I just say, okay, since that I've been talking to the people and I don't have any sales today, so I need to have at least 75 dials. Am I just dialing those to meet the requirement? Yeah. Or am I really trying to find the people?
Well, it's your intent, right? It's your intent. And so if your intent, the difference between playing to lose, playing to win, right? Yeah, I have to look good with my numbers, right? Versus creating sales. Because what happens is if you're dialing for that, when they pick up, you're not really ready for them. Because you're doing it just for the number. That's your expectation, is to get that number, right? Instead of making a sale, right? And that's a dangerous place to be.
I'm sure that
and that's why we're talking about all this, right? And I appreciate what you just brought up, because that's important, because on the outside, it looks like you are doing these things. But if your intent's not there, right, the results are not going to be there. Exactly.
When I'm dialing, is I want to find people to talk to.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of attitude, then, like you said, the law of attraction, you will attract people that they will want to come to you.
Yeah.
And if not, and then you can die and die and die. You say, how come that I don't get anybody to
Exactly.
talk to?
Yeah, exactly. It's again, it's that intention, right? Say, I'm going to find somebody right now that desperately needs coaching. They believe in the law of attraction, and they're stuck right now. I mean, how many people we talk to? I'd say probably 90% of the people I talk to could say those things. I'm stuck. All right? It's like, I'm going to get them unstuck.
And again, is go back to what you're talking about. Why am I here for? Why am I dining?
Right.
And I'm just dining to get a minimum wage, or am I here to dial to make sales?
No, absolutely.
And to help the people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't help the people, you don't get sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, it comes down to is, again, like you said, why are you doing something, right? Because you don't have to necessarily like some of the things you have to do, right? You just have to be willing to do them because of the opportunity that it's going to create, right? In the military, they call it embrace the suck, right? Embrace it. You know, it's just part of it. You know, you got to do what you got to do. You know? Okay, awesome. All right, so I want you guys to think about the things that are in line with this. I want you to list those things from importance. So 1 down to 5 of the things that you wrote down, and you're going to write the list of the things from most important to least important. And the top 5 list of this. That's going to help you with prospecting, presenting, and closing. Good. Just give me a little look or a little hand signal once you have your 5 things written down. All right, while you guys are finishing that up, I'll let you guys finish that up. But I want you just to answer this question. If you did those 5 things on your list, and that's all you did, would you or would you not make more sales? Answer is yes. Right? And again, especially outside of work, if you really spent the time mastering the skills and ability and process these things, right? It's going to make a big difference for you, right? So that's my challenge to you is those 5 things. Again, you schedule your day around those things. Only do those things that are going to create results. Again, at the end of the day, when you make results, you'll be like, you know, sweet, you know, that's what I mean, it's the recipe. It's going to happen, right? And if you don't, internally, that makes a huge difference knowing that you weren't screwing around, knowing that you weren't doing the things that took away from that, because then you start having a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of regret, right? And that's not going to serve you at all, right? Is knowing that you're doing the right things. And one thing that it's kind of my test that I do. You said obviously you talk to your husband, right? And I think everyone has, you know, at least a significant other or you know someone in their life. And if you don't, you know, this still applies to you. And I'll tell you how is ask yourself this question: if you had a videotape on you all day long, and you went home to your spouse or significant other, and they were able to watch, they understood everything that you're doing. So it's not like they're just like, oh, I saw you, you know, doing your thing, and it looked like you were having a good time. They really knew what you were doing and why you were doing it. They understood as well as you did. When you got home, and you knew when you were going to get home, they had already viewed the tape and watched it all day long. What would their reaction be to you? No wonder we can't pay the bills. No wonder, right? Or, so this is why we have the house that we have. You know, I want to thank you so much for working so hard for us, right? And if you don't have a significant other, right, I want you to view it from your boss's position. If he watched it all day long, the guy that writes my check, if he watched that all day long, what would he say? Like, man, we're so lucky to have you. Please never leave. We want to keep you here. What do you need? I want to take care of you. Or they're like, you know what, this might not work out. Right? So it's all about those things. Again, another litmus test that I use as well is that if the owner of the company didn't know you personally at all they saw was your results, what would they think about you? Producer or victim? Asset or a liability? And that's what why we circle all these things is because I want you to increase your value in what you do. And so you circled them yourself, and then I'm going to have you bring it again to your team leader or somebody that you in the organization that you trust. That will rate that for you without sugarcoating it or like, oh yeah, you are a 10, you are a 10, when you're not, right? Because it's pretty interesting, our perception, what we think we're doing and what we really are doing. Okay? All right, so just some keys. One thing I want you to think about when it comes to these 20%, these activities that are going to create the 80% of your results. So you want to have a strong personal sales goal, right? That's for the day, that's for the week, that's for the month, that's for the quarter, for the year, right? Have a strong personal, emotionalized goal. Guard your time from negative people or time vampires. And also don't, I'm preaching to the choir here because you guys are here learning, but don't do that to other people. Don't take them off the phone. Don't take them off their focus, because I want you to think about that. Remember I told you that 2-hour block, how important that is? Let's say you are 45 minutes in that 2-hour block. Somebody comes over and starts shooting the bull with you. All that 45 minutes went out the window because now you have to get re-engaged in what you're doing and get back to work, right? So don't do that to other people. All right? The golden rule, don't do it to other people that you would want them to do to you, right? Another thing is work on your terms exclusively. You know, and there's times I see people come in here like way early and, hey, that's the only time this person could speak. I go, well, how far did you get an interview with them? Just basically told them where I was calling from, and they said they couldn't speak, and so I set this appointment up and they didn't show up. I'm like, yeah, exactly right. Guard your time, right? Say, hey, I can't do that time, so you have to get up at 6 o'clock your time and say they're on the other side of the world. You have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to speak with me. I work by appointment only, right? Guard your time. Deal with emails and messages once, if you can. This is a lot easier said than done, but it's something that as you work on it, it becomes easier. Is when you see an email, right? Again, don't touch it until it's that, that block of time is up. Focus on it, write back your email, get it all taken care of, right? And then, or voicemails. Listen to the voicemail, right? Act on it, just kind of get it out of the way, do what you need to do, and kind of get done with it so you can move on. And also know the difference between what's important and what's urgent. Right, there's a difference. Okay, somebody, again, on your team might need your help in fixing their computer right then and there, but you're in the middle of a call, right? It's probably not a good idea to say, hey, I need to help someone with the computer here, or maybe there's a report that's wrong, right? Let your team leader know about it. Let them deal with it, right? You focus on the things that you know are going to be in line with that, okay? Other one is, be organized, work in blocks of time, and then only focus and spend time on that 20% that's going to make a difference for you. Okay, and if you guys do that, again, your dollar per lead. So if you know what this 20%, these activities are, and that's all you do, your dollar per lead is going to go up. It is, yeah. All right, that's the training. So again, if you guys have a little bit of time, you're welcome. If you guys have a little bit of time, go ahead, turn it off. Thanks.